This week, coming up from the ashes.
We've gone almost 2 hours now. This is probably going to be closest to one of our longest podcasts that we've ever done. It's up there
This
with
honestly should have been a two-parter.
it really should. But you know what? We could possibly make this a two-parter. Matter of fact, I may split this episode and make it a two-parter. And we're going to.
It's genius. We don't even have to do. All right, yeah, there we go. that all works out, man.
So, I think we're gonna make this a two-part episode, and that way we still keep with our time frame and whatnot. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to From the Ashes podcast. Today we are going to be talking more spooky things, and it's going to be epic, totally about spooky tales of your state, or like urban legends, or whatever it is. We're going to be covering that today. And I am your host, Phoenix, and with me today are three of my fondest people that I know. First off, my co-host, Arson. Arson, how you doing, bud?
You said your state. You do realize you're going to confuse the listeners right away, right?
Well,
our state. We're not going to be talking about other people's state monsters or legends or whatever.
First of all, our listener. Get it right.
Nobody cares about the
listeners. Okay.
Who listens to these anyways?
We do, and family. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways. Anyways, so we're going to be talking about our state and, the ones that we currently live in, and they're going to be our, ghost tales and whatever, spooky tales that we can tell. And also joined with me is, as always, Zhombi, aka Bones Baron, aka how you doing, bud?
Oh, not too bad.
Not too bad. Well, glad to have you here. Just as a reminder, Arson and Zhombi always are tired, so just take that into consideration. Also with us is a new guest to our podcast, and one I'm going to be talking about later as well. Maybe something towards the end of this episode, talking about future endeavors with him. He is a friend of mine that I've known for a long time. And he's into like many kinky things, but we're not going to go into that today. But his name is Tim. Tim, how you doing, bud?
I didn't know if falling in love with midgets was considered kinky, but okay.
It is when you stack them. So
okay, well maybe that's where I'm faulting.
We're
canceled. So is that where the term short stack came from?
Yes, that's exactly right. Oh gosh. But yeah, so Tim and I go way back. We worked together. I'm not even gonna tell you how long ago. It's been years. Let's just say that. He's been in my life more than half of my life, at least. So we'll just leave it at that. I'm glad to have him here.
You've been more of a wife to me than my ex-wife.
Oh shucks. Well, hey.
You're good for cuddling.
So something about Tim I want to go into real quick. He does a lot. He's got a lot of fires in the iron, or irons in the fire. I really just flipped that back like dirt. He's got a lot of irons in the fire. He's done radio. He does TV. He does stand-up comedy. He truly is one of the funniest guys I know, if not the funniest guy. He's always the funniest guy in the room. And I'm really setting him up big time here. But
I was gonna say, no pressure. I mean, it's not like you only know three people, and I'm one of them. So come on.
Yes, exactly. All of you are in here. That's who I know. But yeah, so with Tim, one little quick tidbit about him. He actually took me to my first concert. He got the tickets for my birthday, and we went and seen Weird Al Yankovic, very first concert for me. So it was a lot of fun. It was myself, him, and a friend of mine who passed away a couple years ago. But you know, he was there with us, and we just had a grand old time, except for the comedian. I mean, to be fair, Tim, what did you say right before the podcast? You said something about we almost got kicked. What?
Oh, we almost got kicked out because the comedian came out first, and he was up there for 15 minutes, and he spent 10 minutes talking about the traffic in Cincinnati. And I looked at you, and I'm like, I don't need some out of towner to tell me that we have a lot of orange barrels in Cincinnati. So we started heckling him.
We did too bad.
Yeah,
I think we started
and I
a
didn't
trend though.
Yeah, because I've heard other people heckling him too. We're just the ones that got in trouble.
Yeah.
Because I went outside to go smoke, and then I come back, and my brother Tony was like, "Dude, yeah, we might want to hold back on the heckling."
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, "Why?" And he was like, "Yeah, because the security guy just came up and said if we do one more thing, we're getting thrown out." Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
So who else could say they almost got thrown out of a Weird Al Yankovic concert before he even came on? So, you know, that being said, yeah, let's segue back to our real topic today. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an introduction to Tim because he is going to be an important part of the podcast moving forward. And we'll talk more about that towards the end. But for now, let's get to the main topic, and that is creepy, scary, spooky things of our state. And not our state of mind, because that's even scarier than the stuff in Colorado. But who wants to go first? Who wants to talk about the state that they currently live in?
I'll go first.
I was gonna say I heard Arson breathe, so let's make him.
Oh, okay.
A slight laugh.
Oh, okay.
I knew you were gonna pull this, Mr. Teacher.
I was trying to get someone to raise their hand and no one would. So well, actually Tim did after he felt pressured. So, but we're gonna wait on Tim.
Reluctantly.
So, all right, he's like the new guy. He wants to show off. He wants to earn his pay.
No, I just want this over with. There's a difference.
Oh, gotcha. All right, Arson, give it to us. First, what parts unknown state are you from or currently live in, should I say? And tell us a story.
I am in the mythical hellscape called Utah. Now, that might be a state that nobody knows exists, and I wouldn't blame you. Not a lot happens here, but we do have some interesting things around here. Such as what I'm going to bring up first here, since I'm starting small. The infamous Bear Lake Monster, an urban legend in folklore that's in the Utah and Idaho border. So basically, this thing is like a... Well, I guess its description varies, but it's kind of like a... How do I say it? It kind of looks similar to Plessy, the Loch Ness Monster. I think it has a head that's like a cow, and then others say it's like an otter, a crocodile, maybe even a walrus. I don't know. I think some people said it has tusks. It's supposed to be like 50 feet long, or at least it's reported as that. Obviously, since this thing isn't real, people have more or less used it as a tourist attraction to, bring people in. And its last sighting supposedly was back in 2002, which is kind of like, it's more or less put to bed, but it is a creature that a lot of people just kind of hear about for tourism and all that stuff, which I suppose. But I mean, what is a state without a classic lake monster,
Yeah.
Even states with like no lakes.
Sounds
Even
like
states with barely any lakes always have a lake monster in it, so...
Kind of sounds, the description kind of sounds like a girl I dated back in the 90s.
Well,
Hey, they all need love.
Everybody loves a classic serpent, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Snakes.
I have dated a few snakes too, that's for sure. So, you know, that's a pretty cool story. So is there anything to add to that? Like, or just in
I don't know
general?
if there's any reports of it being aggressive or killing people or anything like that. It's more or less just what it is on paper. It was probably supposedly thought to be, you know, a lake monster, but I
Mm.
guess over time it was probably something else in the lake, and it has just evolved to be the tourist attraction. That's about it.
It was a stick in the
Nothing.
lake and it just turned into a monster. Like, oh,
My goodness! By Jove, do you see that in the water?
a
It
freaking
must be a monster.
down tree, just the end of it, like the trunk of it sticking out. Like, what? Oh gosh, that's
Yeah, it's probably like a maybe that's how they got the head of an otter or something. It's probably an otter or a beaver or something trying to live in it, and like it stuck its head out, and they're like, "Oh, over there! It's a monster!"
it's the beaver's lakeside home. like
It's
jeez.
like its yacht. It's its own
Yeah,
personal yacht, you know.
exactly. So,
Yeah,
oh,
that is the bear like monster. I thought I'd start out pretty small here, you know.
nice. I thought we were going back towards cocaine bear again, like we did last week. Like,
Well, unless that's
Everything
native
leads
to
back
your
to Cocaine
state.
Bear.
well, starting small is good. So, all right, what about you, Zombie? What kind of a story do you have for us that'll send chills down our spine, or whatever? At least give us a quiver in the nether regions.
So, uh, I'm from Indiana,
Yes.
um, and so I looked up two things. One, just general creepy things, and the other one, I was able to find a cryptid. And it's not native necessarily only to Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
but Indiana is one of the places. It's called a puckwudgie.
I'm sorry, a what?
A puckwudgie.
A puckwudgie.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
continue.
assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly.
If
This
he's
already
not,
sounds good.
please correct him in the comments.
Yes. The comments that I never read.
No one ever leaves them except for my sister. So, and by the way, thank you, sis.
So what I have here is just a brief description.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a human-like creature from Native American folklore, about 2 to 3 feet tall. According to legend, puckwudgies can appear and disappear at will, shapeshift, of which most common form is a creature that looks like a porcupine from the back and a half troll, half human from the front and walks upright. They
Huh.
lure people to their deaths, use magic, launch poison arrows, and create fire.
Hmm.
According to the information I was able to find, at one point they were not hostile to humans, but something happened. They were kicked out of their home, and now they despise humans.
Well, they gave him the name
Yes.
Puckwudgie, first of all. Like,
I don't really blame them. Everybody hates humans after a certain amount of time,
that's
even
true.
ourselves.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's so, huh? Well, I mean, it makes sense because the name of the creature kind of sounds like it would come from a Native American background, you know. But that's pretty interesting. So, is there anything else on it that you could tell us, or is that pretty much it?
I mean, that was all I was able to find. I mean, other than, obviously you have the TikTok videos and the YouTube videos, like, oh, that's one of them, that's one of them, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like a branch moving or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was the first thing I came across, and I was like, well, I've got other stuff I need to research. I can't just come with this, so
Right.
I kind of left it at that.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a good start. It's a small start, so
Yeah.
All right, well, that's good. What about you, Tim? What do you got for us, man? And from the great state of Kentucky. Oh, I'm sorry. The great Commonwealth of Kentucky. Let me get that right.
Yeah, we'll stab you if you call us a state.
Sorry, my ex-wife always corrected me on that, okay? So
I hate people when they do that. I'm
me
like,
too.
really? Then why is it counted as a state?
Yeah.
Huh? Why do we have 50 states and not 47 states and 3 commonwealths?
Right.
Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, doesn't say that, does it?
No, it doesn't. But anyway,
All right.
so that's a whole nother podcast.
Okay, the one I was going to start off with, I'm going to skip because since the other two guys brought up monsters, I'll bring up this legendary one. It's called the Lake Harrington monster of Harrington Lake, Kentucky, also known as the eel pig.
The eel pig?
Yeah, the eel pig. The Lake Harrington monster has a body like that of an eel and possesses a pig-like snout. It has a somewhat curly tail and skin tone / pattern of a speckled fish. It is 12 to 15 feet long and said to be as fast as a boat.
Man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All I heard from all of that was, would it taste like fishy bacon?
Bacon.
I mean, the eel pig, like, look, it's already shaped like bacon strips. So, like, slice it. Oh, all right. Anyway, sorry.
I'm down for tasting it.
I would be too. You know me. I'm a chef. I'll taste anything within reason once.
Oh, you might want to clean that really good though. I don't know where it's been.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you could say that about most humans too. So go back on this, human beings and whatnot, but
Yeah. The only reason why we don't eat humans is because they taste gamey.
oh my gosh. Oh, this is great. So, okay, so what was this creature called again?
Lake Harrington monster.
Okay, so the Lake Harrington monster sounds pretty interesting. Is there anything else that goes with that, like, at all?
Well, just sightings.
So how many sightings or do you know that?
The sightings started in 1925.
Wow.
In 1972, University of Kentucky professor Lawrence S. Thompson reported that he had seen the creature swimming in the lake multiple times. However, after his many sightings, he was unable to clarify what it was. He says it's only a monster in the sense that one would call an alligator a monster if they had never seen one before.
Interesting. Now, was that before or after he had a fifth of whiskey?
Excuse me, he's a professor at a community college.
So sorry.
So, no, he was just on weed.
Got it.
It's actually Joe's dad. Sorry. Good shout out to Joe. We miss you, brother. Yeah, it's been a long time since we seen you. We had to put a bolo for you, and hopefully you're okay. Well, okay, so that's a pretty interesting story. Now, I don't have any like lake monster stories or anything like that. But what I do have, and I was going to save these for honorable mentions, but I'm just going to throw it up there. And and then I'll move on quickly from this because basically there's a lot of mining towns in Colorado, obviously, right? I mean, there are mountain ranges and stuff, so why not? A lot of gold mines. Even in the town I live in is like a gold rush area. Back in the day, and they have a couple legends out here. When it comes to like the western mines of Colorado, they said that there's Tommy knockers there. or there was at least. And I didn't even know what Tommy knockers were until Stephen King, right? So they talk about these impish gnome-like men, and they're the Cornish of equivalent to Irish leprechauns and English brownies. Germans call them Burgeister, meaning mountain ghosts or little miners. I almost said miners. So it says the Cornish believed that these wee little men were the souls of the Jews who crucified Christ and were sent by the Romans to work as slaves in the 10 mines. So this belief was so strong that the Tommyknockers were allegedly never heard on Saturdays, nor at times of Jewish festivals, which is kind of cool. I mean that's literally like, if they were Jewish, they wouldn't be working on the Sabbath, which is Saturday, or they would not be, So, but I didn't read that far down because I was just going to give an honorable mention to this, but that's quite interesting. So they say they're about 2 feet tall and often described as greenish color. So,
they also belong to the Lollipop Guild.
Goblins.
So literally the Tommyknockers in Stephen King's book and movie was a whole lot different. But that's the first instance I'm going to bring up that is actually involves Stephen King. So I've got one that I'm saving for later. But my second thing on here that is a quick little one, but I think it's been kind of debunked a little bit. But it's said that in Lafayette, Colorado, there is a grave said to contain the remains of a couple actually vampires who came over from Transylvania. They've got a headstone for them and everything. They're called the Lafayette. It's called the Lafayette Vampire. And so they said a lot of crazy stuff happens around these graves and stuff like that. But they did a lot of investigations and stuff, and like they talked about how batteries drained when you're near a grave, shadow figures stand at a grave, trees growing from stake from the vampire's heart. Disembodied voices. Do what?
My brain farted and thought you said steak is in the meat.
Oh, Stake, not Steak. Now I want steak. Thank you.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
At this point.
But there's a lot of stuff that goes with this. But there's people that also have, went there and, there was no like evidence of that kind of stuff. Like there was some like thorn bushes and stuff like that were around it. But I mean, come on. If something's not kept well, it's gonna grow up, with a bunch of, weeds, thorns, and stuff like that. So, they said the thorn bush roses on the grave started growing from vampires' fingernails. So such stupid stuff, to be honest. But yeah. So we've got Tommyknockers and vampires in our state, but that's pretty much all I have when it comes to that. Like I said, I was only going to do this as an honorable mention, but yeah. So if you guys are interested in more of that, just Google
the library.
Yeah. Google the library more or less now. Google Lafayette Vampire or the Tommyknockers in Colorado. So it's quite interesting. Kind of silly, to be honest. But anyways, I digress. I'll tell you what. Since I started off, let's go in reverse motion now. I'll go first on this one because I kind of want to talk about this real quick. And then we'll move backwards. So it'll be me, myself, Tim, Zhombi, and then Arson. So my next story or my next urban legend or whatever is talking about a possibly the first ever in America, at least, serial killer. And it's well known that another guy named H.H. Holmes is like one of the first serial killers in America. However, this guy predates H.H. Holmes. Like H.H. Holmes was 2 when all this happened, and the other guy died. So that's all I got to say about H.H. Holmes on that. This guy's name is Felipe Espinoza, and he was a notorious Mexican-American murderer who killed an estimated 32 people in the Colorado territories throughout the spring and fall of 1863. And I know we're talking creepy and spooky things, but this is kind of along that lines. Like, I mean, come on. There's no haunted signs of this guy, but I'm sure if I dug deeper, it would. But basically, him and his brother decided to do this, like, for just no reason as to why they begin their rampage. But himself and his brother Vivian, maybe that's why he started it. I don't know. Is Vivian like a I don't know, a good Mexican name for a male? Like,
yes. Yeah, several of the names that we use now for females were actually male names.
well, it's just interesting.
And vice versa.
Right. So he was aided by his brother Vivian and began his their murder spree in a county known as Fremont County, Colorado. Their first victim was found on May 1863, his corpse mutilated and his heart hacked out of his chest. During that summer, 25 more people were attacked and killed in similar fashion. So it really just like hits really close to home for me. I'm just saying, like, it's like, wow, that's pretty interesting. You know, I know it was, 1863, but my gosh, that's crazy. So Espinoza sent a letter to the territorial governor, John Evans, stating his intentions to murder 600 gringos, which, basically white people, if he and the other members of his gang were not granted pardons. So they brought in a special task force, basically, to hunt these guys down. And the lawmen, including this sheriff named Emmett Harding, they literally did this first Colorado volunteer infantry unit, and they didn't really succeed that much. The posse, and who doesn't love a good posse, a posse out of Park County, Colorado, finally managed to track the brothers southwest of Canyon City, Colorado. Vivian was shot and killed in the ensuing gunfight, but Felipe did escape. After he hid out for the remainder of the summer, Felipe recruited a 14-year-old nephew named Jose and resumed the rampage. Soon after, I guess they hired a legendary tracker. His name's Tom Tobin. I don't know who that is, but apparently he's legendary. And he was enlisted by the U.S. Army to find him. And in a matter of days, when they couldn't find, it took them all summer to find them, this man found them in a couple days. And literally in a very brief gunfight, apparently shot and killed both of them. And he took their heads back to Fort Garland, Colorado. Like, wow. Like, you know what? Don't leave the bodies. Here's proof enough. Here's the heads. So yeah, that is a quick little interesting tidbit about, Colorado is, like, we've got probably one of, if not the first, actual serial killer in America of known origin, basically. So yeah, I thought that was pretty, newsworthy for me to say, So,
Testing.
yeah, I thought so. Like, it just gets creepier from here for me. So, like, there's a lot of different stories I can tell, but we'll move on and we'll figure if I can get them in or not. So, all right, Tim, hit me with your next shot.
The next one's going to be the first one I was going to do. In the state of Kentucky, there's a lot of places called Lover's Leap, but I'm just going to focus on the one at the Cumberland Falls. Apparently, in like the late 40s, early 50s, a couple just got married.
Oh, that's
And on
sweet.
their honeymoon, yeah. And on their honeymoon, they checked into the hotel by the Cumberland Falls, and they decided they were going to go for a walk, and they're still dressed inside their wedding clothes. Well, while walking, they came to the spot, and the guy was just like, "Wow, you're so beautiful. Let me get a picture." So he starts taking pictures of her, and she starts getting kind of giddy, starts dancing around, not realizing that she is right next to the falls. And so she slipped and fell into her death. The husband, incredibly struck with grief right then, as everybody would,
Right.
he decided he was going to jump in because he's like, I'm just going to kill myself. So he jumps in and dies. Ever since that date, she will appear right by the rocks at around the same time every day. And people
Wow.
have seen her. Yeah. That's really it. But I found out, there's other stories like in Pikeville, Kentucky, similar thing. Uh, yeah. A Lover's Leap in Pikeville, and then there's one in Manchester, Kentucky.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty interesting because, you know, that makes me want to go visit these places, to like, especially like I had such a fascination, I'd say in the early 2000s with all kinds of anything when it came to like supernatural stuff. And like I was a big watcher of Ghost Hunters. Like I love that show. Like I used to watch
I
it
never had
religiously.
conversations about that.
Yeah, and stuff like that, man. It's just like, gosh, like, I've been rewatching Supernatural, and there's a lot of lore in there that they take from real life lore to put into the stories, and it's pretty interesting. So I like that. Of course, if it was Sam and Dean going there to that falls, they'd go down there, find the bones, and burn them. Like, okay, no more ghosts. So, but yeah, that's pretty interesting. And they you said there's a lot of accounts to seeing this female.
Yeah. So most people believe it's just a hoax,
Yeah.
but some people have stated that they've seen her.
Huh.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty cool. All right, Bones, we're back to you, buddy.
Okay.
What you got for us?
The first story that I came across is called the Edna Collins Bridge. So in Indiana, there's still a lot of covered bridges.
A lot of them are haunted too.
Yeah. So this one, the little blurb I found about it, this landmark is surrounded by the dark hand of death. Legend has it that a girl drowned near this bridge in the 1920s, and another person was mercilessly hanged here as well. As a result of these violent deaths, there are evil spirits that still lurk here. There have been many people who have claimed to have been grabbed and pushed when near this unsettling, creepy old bridge. It
Wow.
is a pretty creepy place to go at night, and there are many covered bridges in Indiana, and lots of them have ghost stories attached to them.
Huh.
So, and I don't know, like if you've ever been to a covered bridge, I mean, even in the daytime, there's just that sense about it. Like it never seems to fail. Like any covered bridge I've ever been to, you tend to get that weird
Weird
vibe
vibe,
to it.
yeah. Well, there was one in the town I lived in right before I moved here, and I've been on that one a few times. And over the years, I've been on covered bridges, and it's you do have that sense of creepiness to it. Um, yeah, that's so. Where was this at again?
It didn't say.
No. Well, like it's pretty interesting. Like every time I think of covered bridges, I think of the scene in Beetlejuice, you know, like where the Maitlands pretty much wrecked their vehicle because of a dog. And, you know, which, did you know that scene was supposed to be a lot darker than the way it was? But they made it, they literally made them change the scene a little bit to make it a little lighter because it was going to be a darker scene the way that was portrayed. And instead of having the dog standing on the board and then jumping off the board, the car just going straight down into the water, they were going to do something a little different because they were, you know, it's going to be centered more around, you know, kids and whatnot. They were trying to, at least, but yeah, that's what I think of when I think of covered bridges is Beetlejuice. That's pretty interesting, man. You know, I feel like that's the word of the day is interesting. I've been saying that a lot. Like every time we hear the word interesting, you know, an angel.
Real loud.
Ah! all right, sorry. Anyways, moving on. Unless you have anything else to add to that, zombie.
Nope.
All right, Arson, that brings us back to you, bud.
Oh, cool.
Yay, get ready for 2 stories. Go.
Really?
Yeah, we're gonna go kind of like a back and forth type of deal.
What the? Alright.
Did you fall
Weird.
asleep?
Weird order that we're doing things in, but alright.
I know. I figured it's a weird month, so might as well do it. You know.
Whatever you say, man. Alright, we start our story back in July 8th of 1877. This man, J.H. McNeil, and some other workers at they're salt workers, have encountered a creature with a crocodile-like body with the head of a horse. And after said encounter, McNeil stated that he estimated that the creature was about 75 feet long. So they fled into the nearby mountains and just, they chilled there until it all passed. And when they came back, they saw boulders overturned and disturbed ground. This is another lake monster, but one that probably isn't as known as the Bear Lake monster. This is Old Briny, or more known as the North Shore monster. It is a creature that inhabits the Great Salt Lake in Utah. And those that live nearby or know anything about the Great Salt Lake know that, well, it's in the name. It's a Great Salt Lake and can sometimes be even saltier than the ocean itself.
Really?
Which means that hardly any life lives there, aside from, I think shrimp and stuff like that. It is a very salty place, and I guess like carp and other species could be there, but well, not there, but in lakes, freshwater stuff around the lake. There's nothing could live in the salt lake itself because it's just that salty. Like nothing but I think brine shrimp is what they're called.
Which
But
brine in itself is like basically when you brine something, you cover it in salt. So that makes sense.
yeah, but the interesting thing about this is that as of last year in 2023, people have reportedly had another sighting of this creature. Little excerpt from the page here. In more recent years, new accounts of the monster have emerged in 2023. State Park Ranger Holly Miner recounted a story about 2 hunters on Stansbury Island who were reportedly chased into a cave by a creature described as part crocodile, part horse. But, unlike the story back in 1877, apparently the creature now has wings. A wingspan of over 100 feet, according to the account. The creature returned with an entire cow in its mouth, leaving the hunters to hide in terror overnight.
So evolution took effect.
Yeah,
Apparently.
probably. I mean, I don't know. The Great Salt Lake is big, but I don't know. I just feel like that was the more interesting thing here. The whole 2023 thing I
Yeah.
thought it would be something like I thought it would be something like a one and done. Like maybe there would be like a sighting in like the early 2000s or like the late 1900s, but no. And there are sightings even earlier than the 1877 story, which is back in 1848. But instead of this time, people have seen a creature with like a dolphin-like body, which is even weirder.
So I wonder if it's
And
like
then
one of those things like where it comes back years after being in hibernation, it comes back out to feed or something, and then it goes back into hibernation.
yeah, it just chills out and then comes back up, feeds, and then probably just goes back to sleep wherever it does.
Right. And sometimes they don't actually see the monster or they keep it to themselves, so that's why you didn't hear from it from the last time to the 2023. That's kind of what I'm thinking in my head is like it just goes into hibernation and then comes back out.
And that kind of I guess I could kind of tie in another thing with it is that also in the Salt Lake, apparently there are stories of whales in the Great Salt Lake.
Really?
Yeah, also back in 1877 or somewhere close to it, in 1875, James Wickham, an eccentric British scientist, hypothesized that whales could live in the Great Salt Lake. And so he he tested his theory by going to Australia, capturing 35-foot whales on the southern coast, and to brought them into the lake. And I think they were there for a bit, but then they were killed by poachers.
I mean, let me ask you a question. If it is that potent of salt and someone took them out of their natural environment and put them in this lake, do you think that they'd survive anyways? It'd take a huge transition.
I'd have I have no idea. It says that he like it didn't say that there were any years that passed,
Mm-hmm.
or at least it was 1875 when he hypothesized it. So I imagine a year later he got the whales. Uh it says right here that they were spotted in the lake for a few years and then they were killed by poachers. So I imagine that yeah, they were just there chilling until they were killed.
Hmm. That's interesting to even hear that because if you take a freaking fish from a store and put it in like just dump it into regular water without like letting it get used to it and stuff like that, it usually dies. So, you got to let it kind of like get used to it. You know what I mean?
Well, at
And
the same token, the ocean is salt water.
Yeah, but the thing is that the Great Salt Lake is like sometimes 5 or even 10 times saltier than the ocean, which is I imagine
Okay.
maybe yeah, the whales could probably survive, but
yeah, I
it would
guess.
it would be extremely unpleasant.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was. You're not wrong. With it being that much more potent than the ocean, I mean, you got to realize too, those waters are confined too. Like, so I'd say in the ocean you'd have. Granted, yes, it's salt water, but I bet in some places that's more mild and more potent in the waters, depending on where you are, how deep it is, stuff like that. But you got to think in this lake. Granted, it's a great salt lake, so it's a grand lake, it's a big thing, but still that water is still confined, and that being said, that water's potency would just grow over the years, and maybe back then they weren't as
Yeah,
potent
back
as they
then
are.
it wasn't as salty.
Right. Maybe that's possible, but that's a great story. Like just hearing all of that. Like to be fair, I think the latter part of the story is actually more interesting to me with the whales. But like that's pretty cool, man. I like the whole alligator with a horse head and
Horse head.
wings. Like I don't know where they brought the wings in. Whatever. Oh gosh.
It evolved, man.
Yeah. That's exactly what it did. All
All right,
right.
and since you said I should tell to, I mean that one was more kind of a whatchamacallit. That was those two were more of a tie-in type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to bring up a quick one here.
Okay.
Not really a legend. It's kind of more like a spoof, like a little spoof legend type of thing. Not
What?
really a legend. It's more of like an attraction.
Arson likes a spoof? What?
And so these are the 4 giant soda cans.
It sits next to the aluminum ball. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, they're not really soda cans, but they're like a row of storage tanks painted to be like soda cans.
Oh, okay.
It is they're like it's 2 Cokes, with one of them which is diet, and the other is the regular, and then a Sprite, and then a Monster Energy drink as like they were painted. And it is an attraction in Salina in that little town or whatever I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like that's it. They're just 4 giant storage tanks painted like soda cans.
Huh. Well, that's
And there you go.
Huh.
There's my other there's my quick one.
it's kind of a cheat. And you know it.
Oh, I know. But don't worry, I got more than that. And
Oh,
I got a special feature and
okay. All right,
But yeah,
so
that's it for me for now.
well, let's take it back to Bones. Zombie, what do you got for us?
I got another bridge for you.
What? Another bridge in Indiana that's haunted, possibly? Say it ain't
I
so.
mean,
I know, right?
it's like
So,
I'm the one who comes up with the lake monsters. Bones is the one with the bridge monsters. You're the only one with like different monsters.
Yeah.
but they all relate to mines.
Mines? No, I'm just kidding.
So this one's called the Screaming Bridge,
Huh.
and this one's in Avon,
Hey,
Indiana.
I've been
It's
there.
actually on their state seal.
Yeah.
So the little excerpt I found says that there are eerie whispers passed down from generation to generation that should you go fishing near this bridge, you will hear screams and knocking coming from inside its support pillars. Supposedly, while being built, a worker perished there, never to be retrieved. Another legend claims that once upon a time a woman was walking along the bridge en route to a doctor's house with her sick baby one night when her foot got stuck in the train track. A train rapidly approached. She managed to get her foot free, but had no choice to jump off the bridge into the water to avoid being struck by the train. The woman is believed to have survived while her baby did not. Some people believe that you can hear her screaming for her lost child at the bottom of the bridge at night.
Jeez.
But yeah, so like according to the research I was able to do, that one, this is a train. Obviously, like I said, it's a train
Yeah.
bridge, and that this was either it was or was and still is a very important train route into the city for goods.
Mm-hmm.
I know I believe it's still being used today, but like it's a very old bridge.
Hmm.
And it shows. Like, you look at the pictures of it and it's old.
That's wow. That's kind of tragic that with the whole baby thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe think of something. It's kind of more funny than it is anything. But it's like there's nothing.
Oh no,
Do what?
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's nothing better than a baby's laughter, unless it's 3 a.m. in the morning and you don't have a baby. But
I was gonna say, if I ever walk into a house and I hear disembodied children saying, "We're gonna get you," I'm out. I'm gone. I don't care. I don't, you know, my image be damned. I will run. Nope, I am not messing with that.
He would crap himself again.
Exactly.
Just add that to the list. Trust me, I'm not. I wouldn't be far behind you, because no.
Well,
Like,
you wouldn't want to be behind me because I'd be
yeah, that's true. I'd be slipping all over it. Okay. Well, anyways. Oh gosh, man, that is a creepy story though. Just it's a tragic story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially with the woman. But wow. All right, Tim, what you got for us, man? What's another story you got for us from the Great Commonwealth?
The music world.
Do what? Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Sorry, Bobby Mackey's
Oh,
music world.
okay. I actually know a little something about this.
Yeah, it's a nightclub and honky tonk located in Wilder, Kentucky, owned by country singer Bobby Mackey. I actually pass by this every Wednesday delivering liquor from the different stores we own.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've been past it too.
huh?
I said I've been past it too.
Yeah. Promoted in popular culture as the most haunted nightclub in America, Mackey claims the site was originally used as a slaughterhouse in the early 19th century and later torn down for construction of a roadhouse that took on various names such as the Brisbane until he purchased it in 1978. Various urban legends and modern folklore claim that the site features a gateway to hell and is haunted by spirits including Pearl Bryan, whose corpse was found in a field 2.5 miles from the site in Fort Thomas, Kentucky.
Hmm.
Other legends claim Bryan's murderers were Satanists who cursed the location and vowed to haunt everyone involved in prosecuting the case. There is also a legend that claims a pregnant dancer named Joanna committed suicide with poison in the 1940s after her husband murdered her lover, Robert Randall, a singer at the club, by hanging him in the dressing room.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. This Bobby Mackey's place has also been featured in one of the Ghost Hunter shows, Ghost Hunter, Ghost Adventures, something like that. I can't remember which one, but they actually did stuff there, and they found it pretty creepy there, from what I remember. But it was a long time ago. That's actually the first time I ever heard of it, was watching one of those shows. And but yeah, that's pretty awesome. I didn't even think about that place when we were talking about this. I guess it struck closer to home because, I mean, it was closer to home. You know, I grew up across the river basically from Tim, and so, you know, Bobby Mackey's place wasn't that much further, you know, from where I would go to work or something like that. You know, it would be out that way. So yeah, that's a good one, Tim. That's a really good one. If you guys want to know more about that, I definitely would suggest you guys search that. I completely forgot about it.
It was featured twice on the TV show Ghost Adventures.
Ghost Adventures. Yep. So
yeah, the funny thing is, real fast, the second one, Return to Bobby Mackey's. If you watch the ending credits, you'll see my friend Richard Alcorn's name in it.
really,
the guy I did the TV show with. Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
production assistant on that episode.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I knew who, you know, when you said his name, like I knew who he was because, like I said, Tim does a TV show. It's on local access TV, and it's called Something Suave Theater. I hope I'm okay saying that.
And it's fine, but it's also on OSI 74.
There you go. So, do it.
I was going to say, so we've gone international.
Oh, yeah. So,
Yeah.
So what I'll do is, if Tim can get me a link to the website, you can actually go on and watch some of his episodes, or all of them, I think, isn't it?
It's all the ones I've done for OSI 74.
Right. So
On my YouTube page, I do have other older classic episodes.
yeah. So
That's up there.
I will put the if you send me the link, I will put it in the description. And if you guys want to go check out some of the silliness that ensues with Tim and company, you know, it's pretty awesome. I always love like watching that stuff. And it's really neat to see. That's even well, there was times where I'd be out of contact with Tim for a while, but I always had that, if I ever, just wanted to see something, when it comes to Tim, I'd look that up, and it's really cool to know somebody that's been on TV for 15 years. So but
I'm dying.
well, it was okay, so it was really neat, just to go off track for a second. Like back when he did radio, I was actually at one of the times he was on radio. So he was invited in as a guest, I think, or was that one of your regular radio shows? I can't remember. But I sat there all nice and quiet, and I got to sit in on his radio show, which was really neat. So like, never experienced that before. But neither here or there. If you want to know more about that, I will put that link in the description, along with our other link that we'll talk about later. Isn't that right, Arson? So, huh? All right, guys. So on that note, we are going to set everything aside and finish this podcast next week. That's right. So it is going to be a part 2 to this. And for that reason, we're done for today. Again, if you are interested in finding out about more things about From the Ashes, there is a link in our description below. And also, I will refer you to Tim's site as well. So please go check that out. And I want to thank Tim. I want to thank Arson and Zhombi for all being here. But yeah, we're going to jet out, and I will see you next week, and we will finish this absolutely amazing podcast then. You guys have a great week.